Good morning. So, as you may or may not know, I have 6 children. 5 of them I've had either biologically from birth or adopted from birth. And my newest and my youngest is only 2.5 months old right now. She is going to be 3 months very soon. But she, a couple weeks ago, at 9 weeks old, or just a little bit ago, got very, very sick with RSV. And thankfully, we did not have to go to the hospital, which I was very, very grateful for, because when my 5-year-old was a brand new itty bitty baby, and he was 7 weeks old, he was also adopted at birth. He ended up in the hospital for 5 days. And so I was super, super, super grateful that we did not have to take my littlest one, who is so little itty bitty, to the hospital. We were able to manage it at home. But it got me thinking about the fact that as parents of little ones, we can feel so, so very helpless when they're that age, not knowing what to do to help them fight off whatever it is, whether it's RSV or another cold or virus or, infection of some sort. And so I wanted to share a little bit, just very briefly, what I do when they're that little, because obviously it feels like there's almost nothing that you can do at that age. So when they're that little, I usually start off with using essential oils of some sort in a diffuser, and I have that running pretty much constantly in the room. Now, I don't close the room up. I make sure there's good airflow in the room, but whether it's downstairs in the living room or in the bedroom or wherever, I'm pretty much constantly running a diffuser. So for one, I want either a humidifier diffuser going into the room and humidifying the room, because obviously they're getting snot in their nose, and it's helpful if you've got some sort of steam that's helping humidify the air, because especially in the winter, which right now we're in winter, it's cold and dry. So and with the heater going, it's just extremely dry. So I got that going on, and I do put some essential oils in there. Now, not every essential oil is going to be safe for that young of an age. So I do have my favorites, which I do usually I do lemon. I do a little bit of a immunity boosting mix, and a little bit of like a breathe mix, an air help you breathe mix that I put in my diffuser, and I just have that going constantly. Now, I also do put essential oils on my babies. Now everyone is gonna have an opinion about that. And for me personally, I have had 5 babies, and I have used essential oils for every single one of them. And there are a few that I do feel comfortable if I'm diluting them correctly. So I use coconut oil as my oil that I'm going to use, my carrier oil that I use. And I'm going to put a little bit of lemon and a little bit of tea tree and a little bit of lavender for any of my babies that are 6 months old. Now, when they're a little bit older than that, I might use some other oils, but for 6 months old or younger, I'm going to use just lavender, lemon, and tea tree. That's personally what I do. I'm just sharing what I do. And I mix it really well, and I just have this little jar that I have near her nightstand that I've got these essential oils already in there, and that's what I'm going to be using. And I just put it kind of on her tummy, her chest, bottom of her feet, and that's it, her back a little bit, if she's dealing with a virus like that. Now, the other thing I'm going to be doing, obviously, is feeding them as often as I can. We use donated breast milk, so for our adopted babies. So, the breast milk does have different immune boosting factors and antibodies in it. Now, obviously, it's not coming from me, so it's not going to be the same as if I was exposed to the virus and giving her those antibodies, but it still has something, and so I'm going to be using that consistently, just as often as she'll take it. I'm going to be giving that to her. And then I use a saline solution in her nose. It's non-medicated, and I'm just going to be using that in her nose. Other than that, and almost constant skin to skin, there's not too much you can do for babies that little. So I've got my either diffuser or humidifier going. I've got essential oils going in that. I've got a little bit of a essential oil mix that I'm using. I'm using the breast milk constantly. I will dribble the breast milk just a little bit in the corners of the eye if we're dealing with some sort of sinus stuff. She's obviously intaking it, and I will use a saline solution. And sometimes I've even used breast milk up in her nose as I'm cleansing her nose instead of the saline solution. Now, obviously, the other thing when you're cleansing their nose is you're going to use a sucker of some sort. I actually have an electric sucker, nose sucker that I really like for my babies because it does help a little bit more than the bulb syringe. I've also used the nose Frida or the Deli before, but you're basically constantly sucking it out. So that's about all I can do, or I do for my little ones for when they're under 3 months old, under 6 months old. Just tons of skin to skin and lots of breast milk as often as possible. And it's rough. I mean, with her with RSV, we were up. Thankfully, we didn't have to go to the hospital, but we were up a lot. The other thing I could say with the diffuser or the humidifier is you can use the steam in the shower. I've done that. Or I've boiled water in the kitchen and I've just stood with my baby, not close at all, of course, but just let the steam just kind of rise around as we're in the kitchen. So there's not too much else that you can do when they're that little. And it's super rough. I mean, we're sleeping with our babies on our chest and holding them because they are having a hard time breathing. And of course, we did contact her pediatrician, and of course we did, stay in contact with her pediatrician throughout the whole entire process. But it is a rough situation when they're that little. So for all you parents out there dealing with that, I feel for you. I just wanted to share a little bit what we do.